Video games are one of the most popular forms of entertainment out there, and it's no wonder they're the most profitable media, surpassing the film and music industries. But when did they first emerge? And how did they reach the level they're at today? In this video, you'll find out. But before that, please subscribe to the channel. It's free, and your subscription is what helps the channel keep making videos. Tennis for Two is considered one of the earliest electronic games in history. It was created in 1958 by William Higginbotham, an American physicist, and first showcased at the Brookhaven National Laboratory during an open house event. The game was designed to be played on an oscilloscope, an electronic device primarily used to display and analyze electrical waveforms. In Tennis for Two, players controlled vertical bars simulating tennis rackets. A point was scored when a player managed to get the ball past the opponent's racket and onto the opposite side of the oscilloscope screen. Though simple compared to today's games, Tennis for Two was groundbreaking for its time, demonstrating the potential of electronic games as a form of interactive entertainment. Created in 1962 by Steve Russell, Space War is widely recognized as one of the earliest computer games in history. With the help of his colleagues at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, where they worked at the MIT Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. The game was developed for the DEC-PDP-1 computer, one of the earliest commercially available computers. Space War pitted two players against each other, controlling spaceships in a simulated gravity field where they could maneuver and shoot missiles at each other. The goal was to destroy the opponent's ship while avoiding the dangers of the central gravitational field, represented by a star. Space War was revolutionary in many aspects. It demonstrated the potential of computers to create interactive and entertaining experiences. Additionally, it introduced concepts such as vector graphics, real-time interaction, and multiplayer gameplay, elements that became foundational in the history of video games. Its influence can be seen in many later games and is often cited as a significant milestone in the development of the video game industry. Introduced by Magnavox in 1972, the release of the Magnavox Odyssey home console marked a significant moment in the history of video games. It was the first commercially available home video game console. The Odyssey was developed by Ralph H. Baer, an engineer and inventor known as the father of video games. The Magnavox Odyssey allowed players to experience a variety of games, although they were very simple compared to modern games. Using plastic cards that were placed over the television to generate simple graphic elements such as squares, lines, and dots, players could engage in games like tennis, hockey, soccer, and more. However, the Odyssey had some limitations, such as the lack of sound and the need for extra accessories like cards and dice to play different games. Despite this, the release of the Odyssey laid the groundwork for the home video game industry and sparked public interest in electronic gaming. Launched in 1977 by Atari Incorporated, the Atari 2600 console is one of the most iconic and influential consoles in the history of video games. Also known as the Atari Video Computer System, VCS, the 2600 was the first console to popularize interchangeable game cartridges, allowing players to swap and play different titles on a single system. The Atari 2600 helped define the golden age of video games in the 1980s, introducing a slew of classic games that became integral parts of pop culture. Some of the most well-known titles include Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Asteroids, Pitfall, and Adventure. The hardware of the Atari 2600 was relatively simple, with basic graphics and sounds, but its extensive game library and accessibility contributed to its enormous success. The console helped popularize video games as a form of home entertainment and is often remembered as an icon of the 1980s video game era. Released in the late 1980s, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, SNES, and the Sega Genesis, known as the Mega Drive in some regions, are two of the most iconic consoles of the 16-bit era, which dominated the 1990s. They had a significant impact on the video game industry and pop culture. The SNES was launched by Nintendo in 1990 in Japan and South Korea, followed by releases in North America, Europe, and other regions in 1991 and 1992. It featured an advanced central processing unit for the time, improved graphics compared to its predecessor, the NES, and high-quality sound. It also introduced the Mode 7 chip, which allowed for rotation and scaling effects in games. It was known for its exceptional game library, including classics like Super Mario World, The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, Super Metroid, Donkey Kong Country, and many others. The Sega Genesis was launched by Sega in 1988 in Japan and in 1989 in North America, Europe, and other regions. The Genesis was known for its faster processor compared to the SNES, allowing for more advanced graphics in some games. It also had a distinctive soundtrack thanks to its Yamaha sound chip. The Genesis had an impressive game library that included titles like Sonic the Hedgehog, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Mortal Kombat, with its controversial version due to violent content, and many others. Released by Sony in December 1994 in Japan and in September 1995 in North America, Europe, and other regions, the original PlayStation featured 3D graphics and a CD-ROM drive, a novelty at the time. It competed directly with the Sega Saturn and the Nintendo 64. The PlayStation offered a diverse library of games, including popular titles like Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid, Gran Turismo, and Crash Bandicoot. The success of the original PlayStation established Sony as a powerhouse in the video game industry and marked the beginning of a series of subsequent PlayStation consoles. In 2000, the PS2 was a milestone in the video game industry, becoming the best-selling console of all time. It introduced significant improvements over its predecessor, such as more advanced graphics, DVD playback capability, and a vast game library. In 2006, the PS3 brought a more complex hardware architecture, including a cell processor and advanced graphics with support for high-definition resolutions. It introduced online services like the PlayStation Network, as well as features like Blu-ray and video streaming. In 2013, the PS4 was a major success due to its hardware power, diverse game library, and enhanced social integration. It introduced features like remote play, allowing players to play on mobile devices and PCs. Launched in 2020, the PS5 brought significant advancements in performance, with cutting-edge hardware including an ultra-fast SSD for reduced loading times and high-fidelity graphics. It introduced technologies like tactile feedback on the DualSense controller and 3D audio, providing an immersive next-generation experience. Released in 2001 by Microsoft, the Xbox was the company's first console and competed with the PlayStation 2 and Nintendo's GameCube. It featured powerful hardware for the time, support for online gaming through the Xbox Live service, and a large ergonomic controller known as the Duke. In 2005, the Xbox 360 brought significant improvements over its predecessor, including high-definition graphics, increased storage capacity, and a robust online community through Xbox Live. It introduced the Kinect, a motion sensor that allowed for gameplay without the need for a physical controller. In 2013, the Xbox One focused on offering an all-in-one entertainment experience, combining games, TV, movies, and music into a single device. It introduced features like Kinect 2.0, game streaming via Xbox Game Pass, and integration with TV and entertainment services. In 2020, the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S represent the latest generation of Microsoft consoles. They offer state-of-the-art hardware, including ultra-fast SSDs, support for gaming in 4K and up to 8K, higher frame rates, and features like quick resume and smart delivery to enhance the gaming experience. And you, have you played on any of these consoles? Were you familiar with all of them? Leave your answer in the comments. Give a like if you enjoyed the video. See you next time.
And I'm feeling alright. Got my dancing shoes, gonna take flight.